Alright, so welcome back to the channel.
Yeah, welcome back to the channel.
In this video, we're going to talk about the Disneyland DAS Pass, which, if you don't know what DAS means, stands for the Disability Access Service.
Yeah, we had our first trip to Disneyland, and so we got to use the DAS Pass. So we want to do a video just sort of overviewing, first off, how you get it. The second piece is how to use it at the parks, and then some helpful tips at the end, too.
Stick around.
And come tag along with us today to come find out.
Yeah. So, the Disability Access Pass allows guest members who have and I use the word disability lightly, but have some type of issue that keeps you from being able to stand in the standby lines when they're really long.
Yeah, we're not going to go over sort of what you have to do that, because that's not our place. That's sort of Disney's to define. But really, it's just if you have a disability, you can't stand in line for long periods of time, this is definitely a good option so that you can enjoy the theme park like everybody else.
And one thing to keep in mind, it does not apply to mobility. So if you have a disability and your disability is related to a mobility, they will direct you to either get a wheelchair or a motorized wheelchair. So that does not qualify under Disney's Disability Access Service. So keep that in mind.
Yeah.
So first thing you want to do when you would like to get a Disability Access Service pass is you're going to want to go to guest relations at the front of the park, whether it's at Disneyland, whether it's at Disney California Adventure, or even if it's at Walt Disney World Magic Kingdom. You want to find the guest relations right after you go through any type of ticket booth.
And so like California Adventures, it's basically right after you go through the ticket booth, it's there on the left. Mm-hmm. It's the same thing at Disney World too, it's like right on the left. And I imagine Disneyland probably has a guest relations right to the left too, because they tend to put them to the left for some reason.
When you go there will be cast members, they'll ask you what you need, and then you just let them know that you would like to utilize the Disney Disability Access Service. They'll ask you a few questions about why it is that you need that service specifically, and you can be as forthcoming as you would like based on whatever your disability is. I'll just come right out and tell you mine is because I'm a type 1 diabetic and I do experience hypoglycemic unawareness, and sometimes when it hits me I'm like 30 or 40 and I feel like I'm gonna pass out, and to me that feels like it's an emergency, and anybody who's a medical health professional will probably say yes, that is actually a medical emergency. So I can't really handle that while I'm in line because you never know what might happen. So
and you typically don't have to explain it that far either. You just have to tell them, and they're going to be mostly understanding of it. They might ask you a couple questions like Nancy said, but that's pretty much as far as it goes. The majority of your time is really them explaining how the pass works.
Yeah.
So if you watch this video, this will save you a lot of time and you can be like, I kind of understand how it works.
Yeah, so let's just jump into how it works.
So this is different than Disney World. You need to understand that if you've ever used a DAS at Disney World, they're just two totally separate things. They're not even remotely similar.
Yeah. So the way that the service works is that it is still linked to your ticket, just like it is at Disney World.
If your ticket has a barcode, they basically scan it to be on your paper ticket.
Mm-hmm. And then you can have it in the Disneyland app, because it'll be linked to your Disneyland app, and everything, when you go to the rides, which I'll explain in just a second, you can utilize it that way.
Yeah, it'll be linked in your Disneyland app. If you've linked your ticket to your Disneyland app, it'll show up in the Disneyland app. But if your ticket has a barcode, you will still have to show your ticket to the guest relations persons every time, and that'll be what they scan. Mm-hmm. If your ticket doesn't have a barcode on it, which it looks like they might be transferring more to like a QR code system, then they will actually scan a barcode that they can get to pop up in the app.
Mm-hmm. So we had our tickets linked to our Disneyland account for last night, and she activated it for us so we could use it, and then she went over how the pass works. So
if you have a magic key, just a side note, if you have a magic key, you have to renew it every 60 days. Unlike at Disney World where it's 90, for the magic keys it's 60 days. If you have a theme park ticket, like you have a 3-day ticket, they'll actually hook it to the 3-day ticket so you don't have to renew it every day. But if you have a single ticket, you will have to renew it every time you go, just so you know.
Yeah, so keep that in mind, and that can be a little cumbersome because it does take about 10 to 15 minutes depending on how long the lines are to get in.
And how nice the customer service rep is.
Yeah, so it can take you a little bit of time to set up, so keep that in mind when you're coming to the park, that it may take you some time to set up your access pass.
And also know that when they come out with Disney Plus, the Genie Plus system, it's supposed to somehow be in that system. And we'll do a video when that comes out too, but just so you're aware that this could change in the future, especially when Disney Plus comes out.
Correct,
Genie Plus, Disney Genie Plus, sorry.
Disney Genie Plus, which I think, and I'll get into this in a little bit, I really think that that'll hopefully help this situation a little bit. So
because it's not as easy as Disney World.
No, definitely not. So after we talked about, so the way that the pass works is you have to go to the information centers. There's about 4 in
there is 4 in California Adventure.
Disney California Adventure, and you have to find the guest relation members that are sitting at these information booths. If you're looking at the map, it's going to be marked with an I
Yes.
believe, on the map. So that is where you go to set up your next DAS pass, the way that it was explained to us. And you just let them know, like, I would like to ride this ride. They pull it up in their system and they give you a time to come back. So one of the big myths I think that's surrounded with the DAS pass is that you don't have to wait in line. While in theory you're not physically waiting in the queue, you do still have to wait the same amount of time as somebody who walked up to that ride and had to wait in the queue. So
it's basically a virtual line like you get at the water parks, like Universal's water park. It's the same concept. You basically take a time. It says, oh, the line's 30 minutes, so in 30 minutes you can actually go ride that ride. And remember too, with the DAS pass, even those people who think you're jumping lines, you only get up to a certain point, and then you're still waiting in line for a good 5 to 6 minutes. So it's not like you just jump right on the ride. You get to a certain point, they let you in, and then you can go after your 30-minute, hour-long, hour and a half. We waited sometimes 4 hours too, at Disney World at least, at like Pandora, to get on a ride. So you're waiting in line just like everybody else is.
Yeah, so you can, and the way that we like to do it is we like to go find something to eat, or we just go find a park bench to sit, and we just kind of wait until it's time for us to go to that specific ride. And when you get to that ride, so in the Disneyland app, you can check it under My Plans. It will show you what time, in case you forget, what time you need to come back, which was actually really cool because at Walt Disney World sometimes it doesn't show up, or it'll show up and it doesn't give you what time you
or
need
it'll give
to
you the
come
wrong
back.
time too sometimes.
Yeah, so that was actually really nice to see that. So when you get back to the ride, and this is obviously us too, being our first time at Disneyland, learning how things are, they do have what looks to be like what the touch was for Walt Disney World.
My feelings on it is clearly they're going to get magic bands eventually. That's clearly what they have it set up for. But right now it's like a scanner bar underneath it to scan.
Because if I remember correctly, at Disneyland they had Max Pass, which was the $10 a day for the digital fast pass system. So I would imagine it was the same where you scanned a barcode. So you go up to the machine, and instead of tapping your magic band, you pull it up on your phone and you scan. It gives you a digital barcode to scan in the machine, which I thought was cool.
If your ticket doesn't have its barcode. If your ticket has a barcode, you would just put your ticket under there and it would scan it. If your ticket does not have a barcode, then you have to bring it up in your app, and it brings up the barcode and you scan that barcode.
Which was cool. I thought that was interesting, for sure. And all of the cast members, when we came for our return time, were really nice. They were like, oh yeah, sure, right here, just scan.
Yeah, so we had no issues actually using the system. I really do wish it was a magic band because it is so much easier. We're just spoiled with magic band.
Yeah, we're just spoiled. I enjoy the magic band system.
Yeah, just a slight critique there.
One of the frustrations that I picked up last night was that we went to go try to ride Soarin', and we were actually right at the attraction, and I was like, oh, well, I'll just go to the attraction and ask for a return time, because at Walt Disney World, you could do that. You could go to whatever attraction if you're walking by and ask for a return time, and they'd be like, oh yeah, sure, and they would get it all set up in the system. I have a feeling that perhaps the reason why is because they may use a certain tablet, and they don't have tablets at all of the rides to set up the system, is what I'm guessing. But we were told that we had to go to one of the information kiosks by a cast member at Soarin'.
And this is something you can let us know in the comments below. I'm pretty sure when we were at guest relations at the beginning of the day, she said that we could go to the rides and check in. But
the information kiosks were just a benefit
Right.
in case you didn't want to walk all the way to the ride.
But when we went to Soarin', they wouldn't let us do it. We didn't try it in any other rides, though. So let us know in the comments below. Maybe it was just sometimes you get bad cast members, or I shouldn't say bad, but unknowledgeable cast members. That happens even at Disney World sometimes. And maybe that's what happened. But we couldn't check in at that ride, and we didn't try it again. But that's a really big frustration because there's only 4 information kiosks in California Adventures. There's one all the way at the back of Pixar Pier, kind of by the Incredicoasters. There's one at the front of Cars Land, sort of in that angled area, right after you get outside of Cars Land, back into the circle. There is another one that's a little bit further down towards like Hollywood Avenue in the big circle, and then there's the one at the front gate, and that's it.
Mm-hmm.
That's it for information table. So if you had to check in, like when we were at Soarin', it was only a 20-minute late. We would have took us at least 20 minutes to walk and check in at the information kiosk.
Yeah, so that was a little frustrating for us, but we're used to Soarin' from Walt Disney World, so it really wasn't a huge deal for us to not ride the ride. And we were really tired, so we really didn't feel like having to walk to go find another information station. So that was a little frustrating. So we'll definitely do a little bit more digging and trial and error in the future, and we'll definitely take you guys along when we do that.
Yeah.
So once you have your return time, like we said before, you just return to whatever that ride is, and it's still marked as Fast Pass, which I'm curious to see when they change the
Because they're already doing it at Disney World. They're changing it to Genie. Lightning Pass. I'm sorry.
You'll be going through what is formerly the Fast Pass line, which will soon become the Lightning Pass line. So keep that in mind. You're not going to go through the regular queue, and when you get to the gate, you just let them know that you have a return time, and they'll be like, oh great, and they'll scan it and they'll give you the little go, and you just go through.
Yeah, and you just walk through the line. Typically you'll actually hook up with the original line too, typically about 5 to 10 minutes out. So you still have a little bit of a wait in line, and then you're on the ride.
Yeah, and another thing to keep in mind is you can only have one return time at a time. So you can't just go to like multiple rides and just kind of like line up your night. They do limit you to one at a time. So again, you're just as if you can only wait in one line at a time.
Right.
So, a lot of people wonder about like, are you really skipping lines? No, you're really not. You're just waiting, just not in the physical queue.
Yeah.
And keep that in mind too if you're somebody who likes to see queues. I'm not really sure what the queues look like in a lot of the rides there, but if you're somebody who likes to see queues, you are going to miss whatever is in that queue because you are bypassing the main queue and going through the Fast Pass, Lightning Pass line.
Yeah, I mean, think about like Haunted Mansion in Walt Disney World. I know we're not talking about that, but they have the whole like interactive elements to the queue. You don't get to see that.
Same thing with Pandora.
Pandora, yeah. Pandora has a lot of stuff. Same thing with like Cars Land. I saw some of the Cars Land queue from where we were, and they look like there's some interactive stuff and some more like sort of things that really prepare you for the ride. You don't get to see that using the DAS Pass. So that's kind of one of the big trade-offs I think that you make with using a DAS Pass, but you don't want to risk it.
Yeah, and it's there for a reason. So, definitely if you're somebody, especially if you have children who are autistic, and maybe they can't handle waiting in long lines for a long period of time, or you're somebody who might have like Crohn's disease, or like me who has hypoglycemic unawareness. These are things that sometimes people don't think about, and they don't even realize that it's available. So always make sure you check in with guest relations when you get there.
Yeah, and don't be shamed by some of the judges. Sometimes you'll get that when you're walking through the line. Oh, how'd they get that, or why are they there? Just try to tune that out. It's your experience, and you want to be able to experience Disney just like everybody else. So you want to be able to enjoy those rides and have fun. And this is one of the ways that you can physically be able to enjoy those experiences. So don't deny yourself something like that just because that you might hear a little bit of doubters or complainers. They don't really know, and you can take the time to talk to them if you want, or just let it go.
Keep moving.
Yep.
Another thing too, another question you might have is it free? Yes, it is included with the price of your admission. You do not have to pay anything extra to have access to the Disability Access Service.
Yeah.
I know when we went to Walt Disney World and they had special events, sometimes they would let you use that to get into fireworks a little bit easier. Like they would put you closer to the stage or in a special area. Didn't I don't think
We
that
didn't
happens
see anything
here.
like that there. But there was no big fireworks display or anything to speak of at the event, so
Yeah.
that's something that we'll definitely report back on
Yeah.
in the future.
So yeah, so that is pretty much the lowdown. Oh, and one other thing I'll add too. So if you are somebody who wants to utilize the Disability Access Service for a ride that has a virtual queue, like Rise of the Resistance or Spider-Man, you do still have to have you still have to be in the virtual queue, so you still have to have access to the virtual queue and get a return, like your return time for the virtual queue. But the benefit to that is once it is your return time, you just let them know that you have the disability access service, and then they will automatically put you into that line.
Lightning
You don't
line.
need an additional return time for that.
So, yeah, for sure.
So-
That's important to remember too.
So yeah, so you can't just use it for Rise of the Resistance or one of the other rides that has a virtual pass. In lieu of a virtual queue, you still have to do the additional requirement of getting into the virtual queue first.
Yep.
So yeah, so that is the DAS Pass wrapped up in a nutshell. If you guys have any questions about the DAS Pass, I'm happy to talk about it.
Yeah, let us know in the comments below.
And answer any questions, and if we need to do more videos, we will definitely do that. I'm happy to talk about the DAS Pass until I'm blue in the face.
Yeah, and make sure to like and subscribe because we have a video coming up about the Boo Bash special event and how you can use it there too. So that'll be helpful in the future as well if you're attending Boo Bash.
Yeah, and we will see you guys in the next adventure.
Yeah, we'll see you in the next one. Bye.